Yeah, so welcome everybody. Welcome to the lecture in International Finance and Trade. I already switched on like the video signal so that we can record like our lecture today. Today I would like to talk about chapter 18 once more. And it is the case that you have received like some questions related to Chapter 18. So we are looking at one economy which has a fixed exchange rate system in place. So the exchange rates are fixed. And the assignment question is, what happens if the autonomous component of money demand increases? So we are assuming that the economy is not capacity constrained. So we are looking at like one Keynesian model. Unemployment rate is pretty high, and we therefore like opt for the ISZZ LMZZ model. So this is the right choice. We want to find out like how does the shock affect domestic GDP, the domestic interest rate, and then the foreign component of money supply. So how does this exogenous shock affect the three endogenous variables? And you should like provide a graphical solution. Great. So let's start this stuff. Huh. Uh, okay. So wait a second. Um, yeah, let's start to analyze this shock. So in a first step, like we have to draw our um, diagram. So also already for this part, you'll get like partial credit. So like we have one curve which looks like that, one curve which looks like that. So let's put some labels like on this curve. This is LMZZ 0, and this is ISZZ 0. Then we have here like GDP. This is point A. This is YA, initial GDP level. And then like this is the exchange rate in the beginning, EA. And this fix indicates that we are like in chapter 18, that the exchange rate level is fixed. Great. So like for this kind of stuff here, you'll already get like partial credit. But also like some words of warnings. So some students will also fail, like to come up with the right um, diagram in. So like we have to consider that like the economy is not capacity constrained. So we are talking about the ISZZ LMZZ model, so that this is our right choice. Yeah, so what's next? What do we have to do next? Yeah, like don't know. Like we have to find out what about the shock. Let's read the shock once more. Um, yeah, D0 increases, so like we can incorporate the shock. Um, like D0 increases. And when we have no clue, then of course we have to find like the right chapter and the right slide. So I think we have to go to um, chapter 17 now. So KOM18. And there, like we have one slide, which is slide number 12, which talks about like the shifts of the ISZZ curve. Can you see a D0 in this relationship here? No, there is no D0. And therefore, the ISZZ curve does not shift. So let's switch to the next important slide. So once more, chapter 17 and then slide number 15. So here it is mentioned that the LMZZ curve has to shift to the right in case that the autonomous component of money demand decreases. Yeah, but in our case, it is the case that the autonomous component of money demand increases. So, and therefore, we know that the LMZZ curve shifts to the left. So we can go back here and then we know like LMZZ goes to the left. Okay, let's incorporate it in the graph. D0 like increases. Therefore, the LMZZ curve like shifts to the left. We would get a new equilibrium here in point B in case that we are in a floating exchange rate system. An appreciation of the domestic currency would occur. The exchange rate would like decrease and the economy would end up in a recession. So like this is the LMZZ1 curve. So like in a floating exchange rate system, this would be a shock which affects our economy in a negative way. So we end up in a recession. But here, like we have to consider that we are in a fixed exchange rate system. And therefore, we would interpret this change in the exchange rate as follows. Like there are appreciation expectations. There is or appreciation pressure. There is a tendency that the domestic currency is strong and the foreign currency is weak. And therefore, like the central bank has to support the foreign currency. So the central bank has to go into the cellar, has to print money, and has to buy foreign currency. So the central bank is buying foreign currency, paying with freshly printed domestic currency, so that currency in circulation increases. Hence, like it will be the case that the F component is affected. So F component is affected, money supply increases, so that we end up with the LMZZ1 curve here, LMZZ2 curve here. So this is also equal to like point C. And then YA is equal to like YC. And the exchange rate is fixed. So in the end, the exchange rate is equal to EC, which is equal to the fixed exchange rate level. Yeah, I'll make a print of the slide and then I think I'll uh, leave this stuff. Uh, Zeichnung, meine Zeichnung löschen. Okay. But I can paste it hopefully here. And then I can show it to you again. Give me a second. So let's save it also, zoom, and now I want to show it to you again. Yeah, so this is our solution now. Exchange rate is fixed. There is no recession. The domestic GDP is not affected in a negative way. And the central bank was like intervening at the foreign exchange market in the way that the central bank was building up reserves, so the foreign component increases. So stoppen. I can also show it to you in like a more clearer format. So yes. In a first step, the LMZZ curve shifts to the left because the autonomous component of money demand increases. In a floating exchange rate system, the economy would end up in a recession caused by an appreciation of the domestic currency. Central bank has to intervene in the foreign exchange market, is printing new domestic money and is buying reserves because the domestic currency is strong. The foreign currency is a weak currency which has to be supported. And then, the LM curve is shifting to the right again. And in a fixed exchange rate system, this shock is not affecting the GDP in a negative way. So let's conclude. As a result of the increase of the autonomous component of money demand, the domestic GDP does not change in a fixed exchange rate system. The domestic interest rate remains constant because R is equal to R star. The foreign component of money supply would increase, so F is up. And this secures a money market equilibrium. So we started with the exogenous shock. Money demand increases. And then it is the case that the central bank has to intervene and is building up reserves. Any questions? Should I switch off the video signal for a signal again? Does it matter in the real world? So what does it tell us about the real world? So right now, I'm also teaching a course which is called Crisis, Which Crisis, where we talk about currency crisis. And one currency crisis which occurred lately is a crisis of the Swiss franc. So at some point in time, the Swiss central bank had fixed the Swiss currency against the euro. So the exchange rate system was fixed. And suddenly it was a case that the autonomous component of money demand increased. So the financial agents wanted to hold Swiss currency because the Swiss currency is perceived to be strong. A lot of traders wanted to hold Swiss franc instead of euros or other currencies. And this is, of course, where our shock plays in and where our shock matters. So in case that we perform this analysis here, what does it mean? Yeah, the Swiss central bank has to print like Swiss currency. The Swiss central bank has to print Swiss franc and has to go shopping and has to buy euros. So, like the Swiss central bank, which still has its own currency, still has like a Swiss franc and has not joined the euro area, gets into trouble, gets a problem here because the financial agents increase the demand for Swiss money. And then the Swiss central bank has to print Swiss franc, has to go shopping and buy euros. And the Swiss central bank is storing euros in the cellar of the central bank. So the nice Swiss franc has to be exchanged against the weak currency, the euro. And this in the end caused like some problems for Switzerland. So, like maybe when you are just looking at the shock, it is like just another like assignment question, which is on your desk and which you have to solve. But yeah, it definitely played a role, or this type of shock, like played a role in the Swiss currency crisis, which occurred like 2015. And we are talking about that like in a different course like here at the university. Any questions? Else we could proceed and talk about the second shock, which is in the slide desk. Um, so I have to find this kind of stuff. Um, yeah, like the second assignment question. Like we have a decrease in the foreign interest rate. R star decreases. So once more, we are assuming one economy, which is, or no, like now we are assuming an economy which is capacity constrained. So the model class is changing here. The economy has a fixed exchange rate system in place. How does the decrease of the foreign interest rate, R star decreases, influences the three endogenous variables? Domestic price level, foreign component of money supply, domestic interest rate R. Provide a graphical solution, answer in 1 to 2 sentences. And this is already given to you. So we have switched the model class now. We are looking at one economy which is capacity constrained. So GDP is not an endogenous variable, but it's exogenous, and GDP cannot change by this shock. You can see that we have assumed a fixed exchange rate system here because we said the exchange rate is fixed. And here you can see the two components like of money supply, the home component and the foreign component of money supply. I would like to give you some time, let's say 5 minutes in a smaller breakout session, and that you can try to solve this assignment in a smaller group. And then we can once more like come up with a master solution in the plenum. So I will split you up. We have about 30 participants, so let's try with 12. Let's make it 10 groups. So please, you'll get an invitation to join a small log group. I will team you up for like 5 minutes. Please try to come up with a solution like to this shock. See you again in 5 minutes. Please accept the invitation to a smaller room. Please go into your rooms. Once more, video signal is running and let's have a look. Um, So, like our assignment is a decrease in the foreign interest rate. Like the graph is already given. So, like this is a good starting point that we know that we are in a fixed exchange rate system, two components of money supply. And now we have to think about the shock, like which curve is shifting in which direction. And there, like we have to go to here. That's um, part 15 of our lecture. And there, like we clarified, in which direction does the IS curve shift? Can you see R star? No. So it is the case that the IS curve is not affected. Then also here, like we are in part 15, shift of the LM curve. Can you see R star? Yes, there is something. So if the foreign interest rate increases, then the LM curve shifts like upwards. But in our case, it's that R star like decreases. So like LM shifts down. This is what we can infer like from the old slides from um, chapter 15. So we know R star decreases, so LM down. And now we are more or less done. So like the LM curve shifts down because R star decreases. So this is LM1. And in a first step, we want to find out like how would it look like in a floating exchange rate system. So we say this is situation one, money supply is the same, like we are hitting the new LM curve in this dot, then the prices decrease to P1. We are hitting the exchange rate here, or we are hitting the IS curve in this dot. So we know the exchange rate is equal to E1. So like in a floating exchange rate system, an appreciation of the domestic currency would occur. The exchange rate decreases. But now we have to think about what about the the fixed exchange rate system. So in a fixed exchange rate system, we start like in the right part of the diagram, E2. So like we are hitting the IS curve in this dot, then we know the goods prices are constant. So P0 equal to P2. And then the central bank, like it seems to be the case that the central bank has to intervene in the following way. That here, like ln H0 like plus F2. So the central bank once more like has to print domestic currency and has to buy like foreign currency. So like there are appreciation pressures. The domestic currency is strong. The foreign currency is weak. So the central bank has to print like new domestic currency, is walking over to the foreign exchange market, is buying foreign currency and is selling with freshly printed domestic money. So domestic money in circulation will increase. What we can see like here, from here to there, like money supply in circulation increases. This would be like the shock or this would be the graphical solution um, in a floating exchange, in a fixed exchange rate setting. Um, Yeah, maybe I'll copy paste once more, like the nicer solution, um, which is a little better to read. And then I will share it with you. Give me a second. So can you still see my PowerPoint presentation here? Yeah, okay. Yeah, then like this is the graphical solution of the shock. And then the conclusions are like a decrease in the foreign interest rate, R star decreases, does not affect the domestic price level. It causes a decrease in the domestic interest rate because R has to be equal to R star. And when the foreign interest rate decreases, like the domestic interest rate also has to decrease. And it increases the foreign component of money supply. So more or less, we have here like a decrease in the domestic interest rate also, which affects the demand for money. When the domestic interest rate decreases, money demand increases. There is a negative sign in front of lambda R. So when R decreases, money demand increases, and the right-hand side of the equation increases. So then also the left-hand side of the equation has to increase. And here it's like the foreign component of money supply, which increases. That's it with respect like to our lecture and our assignment question here. So like what about the real world? Is that important in the real world? Yeah, like I would also say yes. Once more, a reference to the next like upcoming course or the course on the next level. Yeah, also when we are looking at Switzerland and like the euro area, once more, Switzerland had fixed the exchange rate. We are in this situation. And during the crisis, it was the case that the ECB had to lower the ECB interest rate to like 0%, something like that. And then we can ask the question, what about Switzerland? How is Switzerland affected by this decrease of the foreign interest rate? By the decrease of the euro area interest rate. Yeah, Switzerland also has to decrease its own interest rate, has to intervene in the foreign exchange market. So once more, the Swiss central bank has to print like Swiss franc and has to buy like like euros, has to intervene at the foreign exchange market, has to build up euros, and that's to some extent causing in the end the breakdown of the fixed exchange rate system. But that's only a reference like to the course on the next level. So in the real world, this kind of stuff like has mattered. So I've seen that there is a question in the chat. So let's have a look. Is it correct to conclude that in a fixed exchange rate system, the action of buying foreign currency allows the UIP to hold, or I'm mixing too many concepts? Um, I think that your interpretation is um, I think that your interpretation is right. So, like the intervention of the central bank, which causes an increase in money supply, in the end lowers the domestic interest rate, and thereby UIP holds. But, huh, I would say this is like an advanced answer or like an advanced interpretation. So your message is correct. Then, in which cases task. Should we do horizontal vertical analysis to find horizontal vertical shifts of the LMIS curve? Like this is of course like a good question. And I think that in the model class we introduced in chapter 15, we always talked about the vertical shift, like up or down, because we solved one equation for the prices. And then in chapter 17, we talked about the horizontal shift, because on one axis, like on the horizontal axis, we had GDP. And then it's much, much more easy to find out whether a curve is shifting to the left or to the right. So I would say in the model class of chapter 17, I would always shift it to the left or to the right, horizontal shift. And in the model class of chapter 15, I would always shift it up and down. What is very important is this overview slides where we summarized all the cases where the IS curve or LM curve or ISZZ, LMZZ curve shifts. And there, I think we proceeded in this way. So in COM15, vertical shift up or down, and in COM17, horizontal shift left or right. Does that answer your question? Okay. Any other questions? You want to raise your voice or send a message? Nah, like in case that you don't have a question, then like thank you so much for like attending this lecture. So I think really that we had a very, very nice time together as I interpret the whole stuff. Like it was the case that always like about 60 students showed up, and normally it is a case that participation decreases tremendously over a semester. But in our course, it was always 60 students showed up, which was nice. And I think like we had a very good mood. So I still can remember that we made this La Ola wave for Alexander. That was like really great. Like, I mean, Alexander, like when are 60 people standing up for you and waving for you? This was really great.
I hope
Um,
I liked it. Thank you.
yeah. Yeah, like you will always remember this one. Like you'll forget about shifts of the ISZZ curve soon, but you'll remember this moment, I think. So thank you that you have been in my class, and thank you that you are at the European University Viadrina. Was a pleasure to serve as a teacher for you. Like I wish you all the best for the exam, and then also like have fun in your Erasmus Austausch time somewhere else, or see you again like next semester. Yeah. Thank you so much. Bye bye. We love you, Bastian. Danke, danke, danke.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Luca
Oh
is
my God, I
awake
love you,
today.
Professor.
Nice.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.